TOR is a shame and a disgrace to our country. This was a flagship project by President Nkrumah, and it was one of the first refineries to be built in Africa. Today, TOR is a pale shadow of itself. When I came, I did my best. I restarted TOR. They started refining products. Indeed, before I left office, our first shipment of crude from our own oil field was given to TOR to refine. And then we left office. The new administration came. That shipload of oil sat in the tanks for years. Eventually, they discounted it and sold it out. And TOR hasn't worked since then till now. All TOR is surviving on is the revenue it gets from the single buoy mooring facility that offloads petroleum products and their storage tanks. That's all. Aside from that, the refinery has not been working for almost more than 6 years of this government's administration.
Every meaningful transformation begins with a vision.
During the 2024 presidential campaign, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama spoke about restoring Tema Oil Refinery to operations. It was more than a campaign message. It was a statement of belief that Ghana's national refinery could work again.
At the time, Tema Oil Refinery Limited had carried years of inactivity and uncertainty.
Tema Oil Refinery.
Tema Oil Refinery.
Now disaster looms at the Tema Oil Refinery.
A strategic national asset had fallen silent, and with that silence came questions about Ghana's refining future, industrial capacity, and energy security. But even in that period, the belief that Tema Oil Refinery could work again never completely disappeared.
For His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, restoring TOR formed part of a broader national agenda to get key institutions working again, rebuild productive capacity, and position Ghana to derive greater value from its own resources.
TOR mattered because it was never merely a lineup of tanks, pipes, and processing units. It represents jobs, technical expertise, national pride, energy security, and the possibility of reducing the country's heavy dependence on imported refined products.
The President challenged the nation to believe in the refinery again.
And so when I say we'll come and we'll revamp TOR, it's because it is an important industry for the growth of Tema. It's an important industry for the prosperity of Tema. And there are a lot of young people who can find jobs with a refinery that is working. And so we'll strategically work with any strategic partners who are available to revamp the refinery and even expand it. TOR has extra land to accommodate even another refinery. And so if we have people who are ready to invest with us, we would let them come on board. We will have a stake. They also will have a stake. And they'll not only revamp TOR, but if they can even build an additional refinery to increase the capacity of TOR, it will be a good thing. It will provide employment, and it will also make the cost of our petroleum products more predictable. Because if we are refining the crude oil ourselves, we can lower the cost of petroleum products. But if we are importing from outside, we must accept whatever price we get on the international market.
With the election of the new administration, the vision moved from public commitment to national responsibility. Soon, the vision became a mandate. The mandate was direct: bring TOR back to operations, not as a monument to the past, but as a working refinery serving Ghana's present and future. When President John Dramani Mahama assumed office, the country was importing more than 80% of its refined fuel, an import bill running into billions of dollars every year. Through the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, the President's vision was translated into policy direction, oversight, and institutional support. The Honorable Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Abdullahi Tinapor maintained a close interest in the recovery, engaging the refinery's leadership, inspecting work, and reinforcing government's expectation that TOR should operate safely, efficiently, and sustainably.
Honourable members, you may be aware, there's a Petroleum Revenue Management Act. And when you take crude within a stipulated period of time, you have to pay the money into the Petroleum Holding Fund. So for a refinery to take that refinery must satisfy that condition. TOR is a hydra-headed problem. It's a 45,000 barrel capacity refinery. The norm is that these days people are moving to huge refineries. If you take Gamnaja, it's I think 1.2 million. Dangote is 650,000, and it's even number 7. So 45 is quite small, but our objective is to seek a strategic partner, ring-fence the liabilities, and then use the assets as our capital injection and look for a strategic partner who is prepared to also inject some money.
At the refinery, the responsibility was entrusted to a new management team, led by Managing Director, Mr. Edmond Combat, supported by Deputy Managing Director, Alhaji Mustafa Abubakar Batalima, the Board of Directors, and the refinery's workforce.
The leadership assignment was clear, but the path ahead was not easy. Years of inactivity had left technical, financial, and organizational challenges. Critical systems required attention. Confidence had to be restored. Discipline had to return. And every step had to meet the uncompromising demands of refinery safety. The mandate had reached the gates of TOR. Now, the mandate had to become work. Reviving a refinery is not achieved by declaration. It is achieved through thousands of careful decisions, long hours of technical work, and the discipline to do each task properly, especially when the pressure to deliver is high.
Management began by restoring structure and operational focus. Priorities were defined, technical teams were mobilized, safety, accountability, and readiness became central to the recovery efforts. At the heart of the work was the CDU, the crude distillation unit, the primary unit where crude becomes value. Integrity checks were carried out, critical equipment was repaired, systems were inspected and tested, long-standing maintenance requirements were addressed, and the refinery prepared for the demanding process of restart. Then came one of the most significant undertakings in the recovery journey, the turnaround maintenance on the crude distillation unit, the first comprehensive work of its kind in years.
As soon as our MD was appointed, he began a series of engagement with staff. And one of the things that dawned on him when he visited the department was that a gentleman rose up and said to him, MD, look around in this room. And MD was just looking around. He said, MD, we have the best of engineers in this room or in this plant. We have the best talents, we have the expertise, we have the skills. Please and please make good use of our talents before we retire, for we've been sitting idle for so many years. It was then that MD, when we got back to the office, it dawned on him and he called me and said, DMD, I think it's time to set up the turnaround maintenance team to begin work.
The work demanded coordination across production, maintenance, technical, safety, procurement, finance, and support services. It also required difficult choices, tight timelines, and a workforce willing to keep going when progress was not always immediately visible. Significantly, TOR financed substantial portions of the turnaround maintenance from internal generated funds, a decision that reflected disciplined stewardship and the determination to use available resources to move the refinery forward.
The minister's commendation recognized more than completed maintenance. It recognized initiative, financial discipline, technical commitment, and the resolve of a workforce determined to restore Ghana's national refinery. Beyond the processing units, the recovery touched other parts of the organization. Storage and supply operations received attention. Tank rehabilitation continued. Governance and risk oversight were reinforced. Staff transportation and operational logistics improved. Workspaces and public areas were renewed to reflect an institution returning to purpose. Piece by piece, system by system, the refinery was being prepared to move again.
My proudest moment was when we finished the turnaround maintenance on schedule. And there was a day I went to the powerhouse utilities department and I heard some of the TOR workers gossiping. And these are workers who actually did the work, and they were like, you know, like, are they those that did this job? They couldn't believe that they were able to do this job within this period of time. And for me, I realized that, look, we had actually succeeded because these were workers who were capable, but was made to sit idle for all these years without working. And the fact that, and you know, there is a way that you can be good at something and people's attitude can let you lose self-confidence in yourself. And these were astute engineers and other institutions were working and they were not working. And for the fact that they were able to get this done and get together and be discussing the works of their hands and be surprised that they were able to get this done within this period of time was a proud moment for me.
Then, after months of preparation, the work began to speak for itself.
Crude was received. Systems came alive. The refinery returned to processing on December 19, 2025. TOR moved from plans and preparations to production, refining crude once again and demonstrating that the national refinery could return to meaningful operation.
I'm also pleased to announce to you that Tema Oil Refinery is back. The new management of the refinery has successfully completed extensive turnaround maintenance. And I'm pleased to inform you that this August House that for the first time since 2018, the refinery has commenced processing of crude oil into petroleum products again. So, Mr. Speaker, let me assure our countrymen and women that the energy sector reforms continue unabated. I remain fully committed to turning around the sector, strengthening its foundations, and ensuring reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy security for our nation.
This was the point at which the circle began to close. The president had asked the nation to believe that Tema Oil Refinery could work again. Now, the evidence was visible in operating units, product movement, and a refinery workforce back at work. The results were also reflected in the public conversation surrounding Tema Oil Refinery.
Conversations around TOR mostly centered around inactivity and certainty. Today, it's about production, it's about progress, and the fact that TOR is working again.
The responsibility now was to sustain operations, protect the gains made, and continue the work required to position TOR for long-term value.
Progress is measured not only by what is achieved, but also by the confidence it inspires.
The past year had some things that stood out for me, and they were pointers to this. The first pointer or indicator was that TOR was in the news for good reasons, positive reasons, that TOR had started refining crude again.
A vision became a mandate.
A mandate became work.
The work produce results. And now, the president returns to Tema Oil Refinery, not to repeat the promise, but to see what that promise sets in motion.
He returns to a refinery, processing crude again.
To a workforce restored to purpose. To a national asset moving from uncertainty towards sustained operation.
The story of TOR's recovery belongs to many hands. The national leadership that set the direction, the ministry that provided oversight, the board and management that carried the responsibility, and the men and women of the refinery who did the work. But the journey is not complete. A refinery is not restored by one successful restart alone. Its future will depend on sustained crude supply, disciplined operations, continued investment, sound governance, safety, and a collective determination to protect the progress made.
What has been achieved, however, has restored something that has been missing for years: belief. Belief that a strategic national institution can rise again. Belief that vision, backed by leadership and hard work, can produce results. Belief that Ghana can refine more of its own crude and retain greater value within its economy.
A promise was made. A mandate was given.
A team went to work. Today, the president returns to a refinery that is working again.
Tema Oil Refinery
is back in motion. And with every safe and sustained day of operation, Ghana moves forward with it.